All right. So we're back again. Big Dog, Little Dog, episode 5. I am at Trosk Dog at Akahi Trosky. And this is my co-host, Akahi Trosky at Ala Trosk at Little Dog. And today we are excited. We're excited to bring you guys another episode of Big Dog and Little Dog, where we discuss championship games, the championship matchups, Tampa Bay, Mahomes, Josh Allen, and even more. We'll talk about the breaking news out of Detroit, some hirings. Matthew Stafford wants out. Big news. Anything you got to say, Ala? Introduce yourself.
No, I'm ready to go. I'm ready to go. Little dog here, ready to go. Yes, bless all. Let's get this going. Get this going.
Hey, little dog, you have any announcements for us regarding your status as a
As
potential
a
college
student,
student?
no real news. Just we're gonna get some admissions back.
Yeah,
That's it.
I heard you got accepted into the University of Oregon, so congratulations on that.
Yeah, small win, small win.
S in the chat. S in the chat. Hey, the best step is always the first step.
This is true. This is true.
So, at least there's somewhere for you to go. You can hang out with all the lonely Oregon people. No, just kidding. All right, so let's just kind of dive into the breaking news, right? So, quick report. We got Anthony Lynn to Detroit. We got news of Matthew Stafford wanting out of Detroit. Him and the Detroit front office have mutually agreed to part ways per Tom Pelissero. We have Deshaun Watson is rumored to go to the New York Jets or the Miami Dolphins.
Oh.
We got a few more news, I believe. Yeah, I think that's most of the breaking news. Any other breaking news we have? I know Patrick Mahomes is cleared to play. We have good matchups. We have good matchups there lined in. We got the Texans still looking for a head coach. Apparently, they interviewed Josh McCown. That's some news. I mean, Josh McCown is still on roster for the Texans next year, but he's also being considered a head coach. So he could be the very first head coach NFL player to ever exist.
Yeah, definitely interesting. Definitely be interesting thing.
So why don't we break this down kind of in chronological order, or I guess you could not say chronological order, but let's start from the beginning of the day. Earlier today, we heard a report from a Miami journalist saying that Deshaun Watson's top two choices are the New York Jets and the Miami Dolphins. And so, do you think that was either of those two are realistic, or does Deshaun just stay in Houston?
Those are good questions. I think he also said today that he would prefer the Jets over the Dolphins as a trade destination. Obviously, he has that no trade clause, so gets to choose where he wants to go. He wants to leave, that's for sure. But like you said, it would be a lot of money. I don't think the Texans understand that they could still, even with the situation, still fork out a lot of
Yeah.
a lot of value. That number 2 pick, obviously being almost guaranteed, number 2 or number 3 guaranteed, whether the situation is. Which is ironic because actually the Texans pick, the Miami Dolphins pick. I mean, golly, Laramie Tunsil is worth 2 first-round picks. What's Deshaun Watson worth? You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, what would that trade end up being? Laramie Tunsil for Deshaun and a first round pick?
It was Laramie Tunsil and Kenny Stills, I think, for 2 firsts, and that's it.
And then they trade Deshaun back.
Yeah, they could trade
for their first round pick back.
Yeah, the first round pick back to their own selves.
So it's basically Deshaun for Laramie Tunsil and Kenny Stills and maybe a pick or two.
Yeah, I mean
that's comical. That's comical.
Deshaun Watson is a little bit more valuable than Laramie Tunsil, but
yes, there's some crazy quarterbacks to keep a watch on this offseason. We have Carson Wentz. You don't know where he's going to be. You have Matthew Stafford, who apparently wants out now. I'm sure there's a bunch of suitors for him. Then you even have Dak Prescott, who doesn't have a contract. You got Deshaun Watson, who wants out. So I think there's a lot of potential high stakes deals coming up in the near future. So it's something we got to pay attention to. You know what I mean?
Oh yeah, for sure. I think Stafford's an interesting one to watch out because he's got close connections to the Niners right now. They're thinking that there's a good chance he'll go there with the QB coach. I think his QB coach last year. I'm not sure it's the Niners, but there's a team that signed him, and they're interested in getting Stafford. And I think Stafford's probably the most interesting guy in the market because he's been for Detroit so long that it'd be interesting to see him somewhere else. And I think a lot of teams could use that type of quarterback.
Yeah, I know. That is kind of interesting. It kind of feels like the NFL is kind of evolving to the NBA in certain terms, where these star players are essentially forcing themselves out or trying to force themselves out, and it makes you wonder what's going to happen in the future if the NFL is going to lose some parity because of it, because people just don't want to play for the bad teams. But you never
Yeah.
know. You never know. So let's move on. Or I got one more. I got one question for you. Let me hear your predictions on these four guys. Our little quarterback carousel. Dak Prescott, Carson Wentz, Matthew Stafford, Deshaun Watson. Where did they end up at the start of next year?
Uh, you get your opinion too, if I'm not wrong. Yeah.
Yeah.
I go for first. I go Dak stays in Dallas, and that's the most clear cut one out of them all. Most likely scenario. Can't really ask for the same amount of money.
What cost then?
Uh, it's got to be upwards of 30 million still. I don't know if he gets 35. Definitely won't get 40. I think it'd be crazy if he did. But I don't see him leaving. It just seems like he represents Dallas as a player. And Carson, I think Carson stays just because that contract's gonna be so tough to move. It's gonna be difficult, and I don't see why they'd move on from him so fast. Even though he wants out, there's no real rush for an Eagles. They're not trying to compete right now. They're gonna be rebuilding whether Carson Wentz is on or off their roster. So I don't know what they can get as a return. So I think you keep him in. He probably stays most likely. I think Watson was the other two. Watson and Stafford. I think
Yeah.
Watson probably ends up on the Jets just because they have a lot of assets to trade, and it's clear that he wants out of Houston, and I think he's good enough to force that move. Maybe not even play if that's what it comes to. And then Stafford, I think the Niners are the scary option. I think they're probably the most likely option. It's not going to be too expensive, and they have the assets to trade for.
Mm-hmm.
That's what's they kind of got priced out of the Deshaun Watson deal almost. They just don't have the assets to trade for him.
Yeah.
I think Stafford is much more likely candidate, and he'll still dominate in that offense. So that's why I guess is. How about you?
Yeah, I'm gonna go. Dak Prescott stays in Dallas. I think Jerry's desperate for a winner, and he's desperate not to be a complete failure. And I think if they don't get a quarterback, if they bring on someone else or they try to go with a rookie, they're just going to fall apart. So I think they pay Dak whatever he wants. So I think he gets at least 160 for 4. Moving on to Carson Wentz. I also think Carson Wentz probably stays just because there's so much dead money for the Eagles if he moves. And I think the coach they hired is operating under the intent that they will make it work with the quarterbacks they have now and not try to make a move, because that's just not really an option for the Eagles. They're already in an ugly cap situation that would just hamper them further. Matthew
Yeah,
Stafford. Matthew Stafford is kind of the X factor here, but I think he ends up with the Indianapolis Colts. I think they have good space. They have a good solid team. It's close to Detroit, closer than California is. It wouldn't be a drastic change in culture or life, um, compared from Detroit to California versus Detroit to Indy. Um, so I think that's a way that Matthew Stafford is happy, and it's a good fit both ways. And then Deshaun Watson, I want to say he stays. They hired Bieniemy, but who knows what's going on with that. If he does get traded, I say he goes to the Jets probably. I think Salah would, you know, love to skip the quarterback rebuilding phase, which will inevitably happen if he gets Darnold or Fields or whoever else. So I mean, it'd be nice. It'd be nice for everyone involved. But the compensation will be. I still think it'd be worth it trading for Deshaun Watson and whatever cost.
yeah. I can agree with that. Try to move on to the championship game.
Yeah, let's start dissecting the matchups. So, um, championship game preview are pretty exciting. We have two rematches of Week 6 matchups between the Chiefs and the Bills, and the Bucks and Green Bay. And in both those matchups, they're kind of blowouts, right? So in the Chiefs versus Bills in Week 6, it was a rainy game. The Bills were running, but Josh Allen was reminiscent of his old self. At that point, we really didn't know if he was that good. He did not play that well. Um, the Chiefs kind of blew him out, and then the Bucks versus Green Bay. Everyone knows what happened then. A-Rod looked rattled early and often, and they just fell apart. The Bucks didn't even really have to try. It looked like they were cruising on offense. They didn't really get tested there. It was kind of an implosion from Green Bay. But we have to remember that this was week 6. I think these happened in early October, mid October, and now we're playing a game in late January. So things have changed drastically. Rosters have changed. The teams have changed. Chemistry has changed. So let's dive into our first matchup: Tampa Bay at Green Bay. We got a lot of dicey things to break down in here. I mean, it's Rodgers versus Brady, right? Like they've combined for a total of 62 playoff starts, 10 Super Bowl appearances, and have never met in the postseason. Isn't that crazy?
Not really, but we can pretend it is.
Well, even then, I mean, think like how how has Tom Brady made it to so many Super Bowls and Aaron Rodgers hasn't made it to those Super Bowls? Like I
Yeah,
feel
that,
like
that's talking.
we'll touch back on Rodgers' legacy in a sec here, but it's quite a matchup of heavyweights. If both of these quarterbacks don't finish top 5 all time in the next 10 years or rank top 5 all time, then I'll be surprised. So I
Yeah,
think it's something to pay attention to, even though Brady might not be in his prime.
I don't know. The stats would argue otherwise.
Yeah, I guess so.
All right. So, I think it is a crazy thing to think about Aaron Rodgers versus Tom Brady for the first time in the playoffs. But for me, it's kind of exciting to watch other aspects of the game rather than just the quarterbacks. Obviously, we're having big quarterback matchups on both sides. But what really killed the Packers in the first game, and Tom didn't beat him. He got short, quick drives off of turnovers. They had a pick six. The Bucks defense went after Aaron Rodgers. They
Yeah,
were able to scheme pressure very successfully. Todd Bowles was just diming up beautiful traps and shifting on the line. And Aaron Rodgers was struggled under pressure, and he has over his career. And I think that we could see that again. I don't know what you think.
yeah. Aaron Rodgers was rattled, man. He looked like a scared goat. He did not know what he was doing. He made that one bad throw to Jamel Dean, who picked it off, and after that, he looked scared, man. And Ndamukong Suh, I tweeted this out when the game was happening. He was in Aaron Rodgers' face. He was about to stomp on his calf. He was about to stomp on his neck. I actually love that because I don't like Rodgers, man. I do not like Rodgers very much. Um, but yeah, it'll be interesting to see the Bucks defense again against this new. I mean, at that point, Green Bay was still looking good, but after this game and the Vikings game, we weren't really sure. But since then, they've been pretty dominant. I don't think they've even lost a game in like 8, 10 weeks. So their offense has been real good against the number one defense. It'll be interesting to see how Todd Boyle's up some pressure.
Yeah, for sure. So let's talk about the injuries to wide receivers. Pretty
Yeah,
big deal for the Bucks right now. AB is confirmed out for the game. Big news. He's been a favorite target of Tom Brady since they played together, both
he's
in
been
New
big
England
for
and
he's been big for them. Yeah,
yeah. I think he goes under the radar. He's still obviously. I think talent wise, he could still be the same as he always was. It's just about volume of targets with a Big Ben versus Tom Brady. They like to run a different kind of offense.
but now
And
but now Tom Brady is forced to acknowledge, um, you know, the little goat, Scotty Miller.
Scotty Miller has underratedly, considering the weapons they've had all season. Scotty Miller's been very good.
Yeah,
Every step.
and also
He,
we have to talk about Evans and Godwin are both limited. It feels like they've been hurt the entire year, but they're still managing to produce. I mean, they made it this far. Um, but yeah, I think one of the things I'm looking out for besides that matchup of the pressuring Aaron Rodgers is how Tampa Bay offense looks against this. Not many people are talking about it. Like Green Bay's defense is actually solidified in the last month or so, right? They haven't given up a ton of points. They played Tennessee, who was top three scoring offense. I think they only gave like 13 points, maybe a little more. I'm not sure. They played the Rams. I mean, they played them well. I know the Rams aren't anything crazy, but they've had a few good defensive showings, considering their early performance. So I think it's something to note because especially in the first game, the Bucks offense was not tested by Green Bay.
Yeah, it was not.
So now,
Very
I mean, the
fun.
Bucks offense actually has to do something, and I talked about it last or earlier this week. I didn't think Tom Brady was even that impressive against the Saints. He didn't play bad, but he did not play elite.
Yeah, and you'd say the same for Aaron Rodgers. I mean, his playoff record is not great. You look at his championship record; the stats in those games are not elite. They're not Aaron Rodgers what you'd expect efficiency wise.
Yeah,
He's throwing interceptions.
yeah, and there is something to talk about there. Like, Rodgers is cool, calm, collected, but he's what 9-10 in the playoffs or something, or maybe not so much, maybe a little better than that. But there's two sides of that coin. So we have Rodgers, this is his first time hosting the NFC Championship game out of five, which means um, they've gotten there, but they've never been the best team. But also, this is only his second. He's only been to one Super Bowl, or maybe he's been to two Super Bowls, but he's only won one, and he hasn't even had a Super Bowl
He's only been
appearance.
in one.
He hasn't even had another Super Bowl appearance, which means he's lost all those games. And we talk about it often, but pattern, you know, this pattern that he's gone to and hasn't succeeded, I think that might be a knock on his legacy.
Yeah, I mean, especially when you look at the guy on the other side, which is a man who's constantly succeeded in that moment.
Yeah,
So it's all they're polar opposites in a way at quarterback. The flamboyant individual in Aaron Rodgers, the Mr. Discount double check, and then Tom Tom Brady, man, he's just there every week. Every week he's gonna come
Tampa
to fight.
B. Yeah, no, I mean,
Another
it's
one, sure.
it's going to be an interesting matchup, no doubt. I kind of decide whether I'm more excited for Brady versus Rodgers or the matchup we're about to talk about in a sec, um, Mahomes versus Allen, which could be the matchup of the future in the AFC.
Yeah, definitely could be a Manning Brady part two. Who knows? There's a lot of guys that could be there though. You could
Yeah,
argue.
dude, Allen is just I don't know what's gone into him, man. Like I was reading this stat earlier, I saw that he might have had, era adjusted, the best third year breakout of any player in the NFL ever, which makes sense because when you're as bad as he was, that guy could not hit a target like 20 yards down the field. A moving target, there's no chance he would even get it close. He was so bad down the field. He made dumb mistakes, and now he has that arm confidence to do whatever he wants. I mean, we'll see if he like I've been saying the last couple weeks. We'll see if he pays that price. Um, you want to jump into that matchup right now? Anything else? Well, let's hear your prediction for Green Bay versus Tampa.
I got Aaron. I just think there's too much. He's a confident. He loves to ride on his confidence, and the confidence cannot be higher with Aaron Rodgers. You look at him smiling every game. Devontae Adams is gonna rip Carlton Davis up. I don't see that matchup. Just seems like any matchup on Devontae Adams just seems like an automatic loss. That's what it feels like to me. I don't,
Yeah,
I don't, I don't see that changing. Devontae Adams is so dominant. He's healthy. Aaron Rodgers is healthy. They're healthy. The Packers are healthy, and that's what at this point in the year, that's kind of what you need to be healthy,
sure.
and they are.
We
They're
didn't talk
dominant.
about Vita Vea coming back for the Buccaneers though. He was
Yeah,
dominant
he's
before he
been
got
out for a
injured.
long time, though. He's been out for a
That's true.
long time.
We don't know what to expect there.
I just think I got the Packers taking it. I think Tom always puts up a fight. You'll probably see this come down to a final drive, but I think I'll bet on Aaron Rodgers here at 27-24. Take the Pack. Go Pack, go.
Yeah, I gotta say I'm gonna go with the Packers as well. I just think you're right. There's too much confidence. There's too much momentum for Aaron Rodgers. He just looks so comfortable in that system. He looks so comfortable with what to dial up at the line. And I watched a little bit of that matchup between them and Tampa Bay early on, and he missed one or two throws early on, and that killed him. And the O line wasn't playing well, but it's hard to see that Matt LaFleur would allow we call up plays that would put Aaron Rodgers in trouble early on, and from there they'll kind of build out. So I will pick the game to be 28. No, I'm gonna go. Yeah, I'll go 31 to 28. I think Brady makes a late rally, but I don't think it's enough.
All right, all right. So move on to the Buffalo Kansas City game.
Yeah, let's do it. I mean, we just talked about it, the two young guns of the AFC. I don't really know, like when you think about it in the AFC, there's Mahomes, there's Allen, and is anyone else like really playing at that level, even close?
Yeah, I think there is. I think there is, and you may disagree with me, but I talk about the reigning MVP winner, maybe.
Yeah, we
I
can talk
think.
about 13 points per game in the playoffs, MVP winner.
I mean, this is Josh Allen's fourth game in his playoff career. I think we need to slowly roll. I think we just need to calm down about the Lamar Jackson thing. I think we can also include Deshaun Watson in that list. He may be playing for the worst team in the league.
Yeah, you're right.
And
Actually, there's some good quarterbacks in the AFC, some good young quarterbacks, but
yeah, and I think, hey, he may not be he's definitely compared talent wise to the other four. I don't know, but for the next 10 years, Baker Mayfield's the top 5 AFC quarterback, and he
with
can.
Stefanski, I will give Baker Mayfield some dangerous credits.
I couldn't, we've seen crazy players win the MVP. I could see the Browns putting together a season where the Steelers maybe make a shift at quarterback. The Ravens have some issues with the cap because they're gonna reach that point, and you can see Baker Mayfield, tearing up that division, maybe winning an MVP. I could see that happening. So I think Baker could definitely be in that conversation. I think he's
Maybe
cemented.
winning an MVP. Wow, you should post that. I mean, that's bold.
Well, I think the situation is going to end out right. Dwayne Haskins is right now the Steelers guy next year almost. I don't know, man. I think there's a good shot that the Ravens and Steelers take a step back, and the Browns right now look better than they've had since the Browns have existed before pre Super Bowl era. That's not included.
That's true.
So,
All right. Well, I get your point. There's a lot of solid quarterbacks in the AFC. I think these two guys might be at just a higher level than them, especially Mahomes. I mean, that's not really debatable. But let's kind of dive further into the matchup. Let's see. I mean, Mahomes was rumored to be out earlier this week, but he's back. Obviously, I know he has a toe injury, which clearly limited him last game. Do you think there's any concern about his toe?
yeah, he was struggling to drive his foot into the ground and make some tough throws. He was sitting in the pocket a lot more than he usually would.
Yeah.
Obviously, they designed to run a couple runs for him, but
Yeah.
and I think that you most likely see a situation where Mahomes maybe is a little hesitant, and you'll see a lot more play calling because Andy Reid often designs plays where he rolls out and he makes throws on the run because he's just got that ability. I think you'll see a lot more stationary movement with Patrick Mahomes, which could affect him. He had that ankle injury last season, and you could tell there was a difference in him. The Chiefs weren't playing as well. Obviously, he got healthy. They ended up winning however many games straight into this next year until the Raiders game, and broke the record or something for most consecutive games at a certain age. But I think it will make a difference, but I see still the same Mahomes,
Yeah, I think it will hamper him a little bit, but I don't think it really does anything to really, affect his level of play. And we can also briefly talk about the other injured guys. For the Chiefs, we had CEH. Is he going to play?
He's questionable. Listed as questionable. He did not play last week. Both Bell, CEH, and Sammy Watkins are listed as questionable. So
That's
that
interesting.
could completely change the run game, especially with the injured Patrick Mahomes.
Yeah,
And they did have us running the ball last week against the Browns.
yeah. I mean, I feel like as long as you had someone serviceable, that's what
Yeah,
matters. I mean, Darrell Williams isn't too bad.
yeah.
He's not like a DJ Dallas, you know what I mean? Okay,
Yes.
let's go to the Bills have a few guys. They have Davis, Beasley, and Diggs. I know they're all. I don't know about Davis, but I think Beasley and Diggs are expected to play.
Yeah.
But I mean,
I do
Beasley
agree.
last game, yeah, Beasley last game, every single play he made, he was limping off the field afterwards. I don't know. I mean, I don't know how much we can really expect from him. Diggs obviously has been injured the last couple weeks, but has played through. But I'm worried. I think Beasley might be key to this offense getting past third downs. But if
Yeah,
he's not
he's
there,
always
I'm pretty worried.
hot. Yeah, I think you already have Bills offense that's pretty one dimensional, pretty reliant on their receivers getting open in space and Josh Allen finding them, and they've been very good at that. Gabriel Davis has been underratedly one of the best number three receivers. Obviously, was very good in the Colts game, back to back sideline catches. He's very talented, could be great for years to come. And Cole Beasley's, I mean, the best season of his career, probably could have been a Pro Bowler this year. And I wouldn't even have argued if they had
Well, he
a
won a
slot.
second team All Pro with one vote.
Yeah, I mean, I think Cole Beasley is definitely an underrated player, and Diggs is as dominant as a receiver comes these days. So
Yeah.
if
Well,
they're struggling, it could be very tough for the
I
Bills to
think
move
you
the ball.
mentioned something early on. I mean, the Bills' offense is one dimensional. They pass the ball so much. They passed the ball so much last game, but it's because they can't really run the ball successfully. And Zach Moss had surgery; he's out. So now you got
Yeah,
Devin Singletary, who I'm not a big fan of, running behind a not very great O line.
yeah,
So
running the beast.
they are pretty one dimensional, and that's what they've been doing. But we'll see. It might affect him because now they're really forced to be one dimensional.
Yeah. So I have a question for you. I have a
Yeah,
question
let's
for
hear
you.
it. Let's hear it.
So I think there's a lot of players you could pick here, but taking out Allen Mahomes, who's going to be the X factor this game? You know, you got Diggs, you got Travis Kelsey, obviously the best receiving tight end in the league, no question about it, and Tyreek Hill, who obviously was huge last game with his last catch. Travis Kelsey dominated the whole game as he always is. So who do you think is the X
Who,
factor?
so for each team or uh,
No, I want to just one player, not for each team,
for
just
the game?
one player in the game. That's gonna be more valuable to their team or make the plays.
Wow, it's tough. Let me think about that for a second. Yeah, I think I got to go with Cole Beasley.
Cole Beasley, wow.
Honestly, I think if he shows up with a functioning leg and he can cut, dude, he's gonna bail out this Bills offense whenever they get in trouble. The Chiefs defense is not terrible. It really is not that bad. Um, they've been bad in the red zone, bad on short yardage conversions against running teams. The Bills don't run, so the Bills need a way to convert these short yardage situations, and that's Cole Beasley right there. So I think with Cole Beasley healthy, he could easily be a X factor. Go off for 9 catches, 87 yards, and maybe a touchdown. What about you?
Yeah, I'm gonna go a little bit safer, a little less outrageous. I'd say Stephon Diggs.
Outrageous. We said X factor. We didn't say, oh, the Chiefs are gonna win because Tyreek Hill plays well. I mean, they're gonna win if
I think the Bills
Tyreek
are
Hill
gonna win
plays well.
because Stephon Diggs gets 150 plus yards. I think
That's
he's
true.
the best receiver in the league at running the comeback. They've been dominant all year. He's dominant on the go. He's dominant in every route he runs. I think Stephon Diggs is the number one target.
But let me ask you
And
this. Let me ask you this. Do the uh I feel like there's a lot of scenarios where the Bills lose with Diggs going off for 150. I feel like he
there's a lot of
needs to go off for 150 to even it be competitive.
yeah, you could say that too. You could say that too. But I think this game's gonna be high scoring no matter what. And you're right, it goes off for 150, but that doesn't take away the fact that he's the most valuable player to his team, is what I'm saying. And I think he will be the best player that plays on Sunday. And that's just because I think he gets open. There's nobody on the team that can match. There's nobody that can match up with him. I think Trey White could at least, hamper Tyreek Hill a little bit. But there's nobody on the Chiefs that can match up with him. I think he just goes off. I
You're
don't
right.
know.
You're right.
And it may be 150 yards, but like you said, it could be big 150 yards. It could be third down plays. It could be outside the pocket kind of plays. It's not going to be. The game's going to go off script a lot. I'm sure of it, and I think Diggs is going to be the best benefactor of that. You can argue Travis Kelsey is as good as that as well, but I think he will. I think I see the Bills winning. Preview to my prediction, I see the Bills winning, so I'm gonna pick Stephon Diggs.
All right. You know what? It's a safe pick, but it's probably a good pick. Um, so is there anything to talk about with these two defenses? I know the Bills have been, hit or miss. They've had a pretty poor run defense, but have been trending upwards in terms of, pass defense and overall defense. And the Chiefs, like I mentioned earlier, they're not a great defense. They play well in between the 20s, but when they get into the red zone, they're terrible. And they're just not that talented on the back end. They got Chris Jones up front. They got Tyrann Mathieu on the back, and then their linebackers are nobodies. Their corners are Breeland's pretty good. I read he just got off concussion protocol. So do you think it's a high scoring game? Just like a
I
very
think
high scoring game.
I think it is. I think it is. I think one thing you got to know about the Bills' defense is they're coming off a big defensive game. I mean, the Ravens are the best rushing team in the league. They absolutely shut it down. They made Lamar Jackson comfortable. They got pressure. I think they were really good last week. I think they're coming in with better momentum. Although the Chiefs, when it mattered, played really well against the Browns. They forced a lot of fourth downs. The Browns were something else last week. I don't know what was going on with the Browns. They're pretty they're pretty unstoppable, kind of, in a weird way for only scoring 17 points.
Yeah.
But I think they're both coming off of good games. I think the Bills have more momentum. I think it'll be better. But I think either way, the offensive matchup to the defense is too much of a gap for this to be a low scoring game.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's gonna be high scoring too, and really though, who we want to see these quarterbacks light it up, and who isn't a Bills Mafia fan right now? Like, I
Chiefs
mean,
fans.
yeah, it's basically Chiefs fans versus the rest of the NFL. But yeah. So give me your predictions. Give me your final predictions for this game.
So I got the Bills taking this. I just think, like I said, I've talked about it a lot already. I think Diggs goes off. I
Yeah.
think the Bills are just going to be moving the ball too easily, and I trust Josh Allen right now more than I trust Pat Mahomes with the injury designation. And
Okay.
the the Chiefs have been less dominant in the last like 10 weeks for me, and I'm going to take the Bills because I think they are the better team, and I don't know why, but I'm taking them.
That's
38-35.
Oh, okay, okay, okay. So here's my take. I like Josh Allen. I want the Bills to win, but I just don't think. I think this is the game where Josh Allen's last 2 years, his inexperience, his ability to make boneheaded plays flashes. It flashes and they pay. So I want the Bills to win. I don't want the Chiefs to go to another Super Bowl. Don't want them to win another Super Bowl. But I just think late in this game, Allen's going to make a bad pick, make a bad read. He's going to be pressing. He needs to score. Chiefs have scored every drive, and it's just going to come back to bite them. And it's going to be close still, but it's going to be that one mistake that gets him. So I'm going to go 30, 35, 31 Chiefs.
Definitely a respectable pick.
And it really pains me to say that. It really pains me to say that. I want the Seahawks to be the only team besides the Patriots who've made it to multiple Super Bowls or had some sort of, dynasty in the recent years, but it looks like that might not happen. Um, all right, so that's kind of the preview for the NFL Championship games. There's only 2 games. Kind of crazy. I mean, we're almost at the end of the season, almost at the time to start talking about the off season, and there's going to be some major deals, major moves happening. I think there's going to be one for the books, especially the salary cap and the news about the draft. So apparently, no coaches or NFL teams are allowed to actually interview these players in person or meet up with these players in person. And so, I mean, not to get too sidetracked here, but then you kind of see why picks in 2021 are less valuable. They can't do this vetting in person, which makes a difference. You can't go see a player in person, see them work out. So it's a little off topic, but this offseason will be wild, and we're only 3 weeks away from that. 2 weeks,
Yeah.
2 weeks away from that actually.
I think a point I want to bring up, which what you said, which is I think this is totally on me. I think when John Schneider made that move for Jamal Adams, trading away that first pick, I think he knew that it wasn't going to be the same. I think he knew that this first round pick is going to be less valuable than it has in the past, and I think
I agree.
is more. I think the trade should be looked at rather than just a normal first round pick. This is a different situation.
I agree, and I think that's why he had to pay more. I think that's why he had to give up a first and a third this year. That's just my take. I think the Jets were like, you know what, your first round pick next year is not going to be the same because first of all, you're going to be good. Second of all, there might not even be a draft or a combine, which there isn't. So there might not even be a college season, which there almost wasn't, and a lot of teams only played a couple games. So let's kind of move on to our last topic here. Well, we have 2 more, but the Seahawks don't have news. It's Bieniemy versus the world, man. What's the deal with Eric Bieniemy? Uh, let me just go over some of his. He has a messy history, and sometimes people forget to bring it up. But let me just go over some of what he's done. So, Bieniemy was charged with disorderly conduct and fighting in public. Bieniemy was allegedly accused of shoving a firefighter and was suspended for a game in college. Bieniemy allegedly grabbed a female parking attendant by the neck and threatened her, which resulted in a ban of 1 year. Bieniemy had a DUI charge. Bieniemy was also linked to allegations of Colorado's team using sex and alcohol to lure recruits. So there's a long list of issues with Bieniemy. I know these were a long time ago, but like, what's the issue, man? Everyone wants to say, he's not getting a job because he's black, and for the most part, all the coaches being hired are white, except for Robert Saleh. So that's not completely accurate. But what is the deal? Is he interviewing bad? I mean, is it really? Are we looking too deep into here, or are we not looking deep enough?
I think we might also have to look at the fact that straight up, Eric Bieniemy cannot be hired right now. I mean, the teams are impatient maybe, and he's in the playoffs still. That's a big factor. He's, I mean, yeah, he's getting interviews still. I don't know. I think Eric Bieniemy will get a job, whether it's this year or next year. The Chiefs are not going to slow down, obviously. Then there'll be a lot of openings. You can see with the amount of openings there this year, you could easily see some one season firings out of a lot of teams. And although this kind of felt like a year where a lot of long term guys, Anthony Lynn, Matt Patricia, they all collapsed at the same time around. So I don't know if we'll see as many openings next year, but I think Bieniemy will be at the top of that list no matter what. Even with, we thought he was going to be at the top of the list going into this head coaching thing. So it is surprising, but I'm still not concerned. I think Bieniemy, he's relatively young. He's not super old. I
Yeah,
think.
he's young. I mean, and he's been. I mean, the argument is that Andy Reid calls the plays, but Andy Reid assistants have been hired before many times. It's just hard to see if he. I want to see what those interviews are like because something's going wrong. I don't think that a team. I mean, maybe I'm wrong here, but I don't think that all teams are discriminating against him for various reasons. I mean, maybe they are, but I mean, look at the Jets. They just hired Robert Saleh, so we can clearly see that not all teams are. So I guess we're going to transition from here. We'll go on to any Seahawks news. Just wrap this up. I know it's still kind of a Seahawks centric, but the Seahawks are boring because they already lost about a month ago. But yeah, so there's some rumors that they brought in Kirby Smart, a journeyman running back coach,
For
a
the
former
Vegas.
Pete Carroll assistant for the OC job. And this guy is not young. This guy has been in the league for 20 years, 25, 30 years. He's never been considered for an OC job, really. And here we are interviewing him. What do you think?
I think it's an awful move. It's a disappointing move from the Seahawks. You really want it. I think this sucks really. I think this whole season kind of sucked in the way that it went, the way it turned out, with how we were so pass happy offensively, maybe too pass happy. Probably should have kept more balance. We got carried away a little bit, and at the end of the year, we tailed off as a passing team. Couldn't run the ball, couldn't pass the ball, and Pete Carroll, he's just going back to his roots, and it's disappointing because I think for the betterment of the Seahawks and our strengths right now is taking advantage of the pass game, even though we didn't have success. And we need to find a guy that can do that. And Kirby Smart is the exact opposite. He will just turn us into a team that will be so not explosive at all. We'll run 90% of run plays, the last 10% will be play action. It'll be disappointing.
Yeah,
I
I mean,
think,
I don't even know what to think his offense would be like, and that's kind of what I'm scared of. He hasn't
yeah.
been an offensive coordinator ever. He's
I
been a
mean,
running backs coach.
Carroll Tree and a lot of older guys are gonna they like running the ball. It looks like if he's gonna be bringing him in, they're gonna bring him in to run the ball, which sucks. I think Russ needs to go in and say, hey, this is not gonna work.
Yeah, I mean that's what Kirby Smart. I don't know if they actually hire him, but what we have seen is kind of a different process though, because in previous years I've mentioned Pete Carroll was quick to decide who he wanted to hire. Usually someone really never heard of. Um, but this time they're really getting like a ton of names have been dropped. They've brought in a ton of people, so there's some sort of change in process that we're kind of seeing here, where they're casting a wide net to try to accommodate Russell Wilson. I think so. That's just my take on it. Obviously, we don't know yet, and maybe we won't know until after the Super Bowl.
Yeah, we might not. Probably, actually, at this point. I don't see much changes going on. Candidates are leaving, but I don't know if they're kind of set in stone right now, where all the shifting is coming to a close. So if that happens, then we could see us just wait it out and keep interviewing different guys.
Yeah, and I mean the other teams that are requiring an OC or are have a vacancy, I think, are the Steelers, um, Vikings now again, and the Dolphins. And none of those guys have made any moves yet. So it's kind of just feels like a waiting game. I kind of wonder
Yeah.
if all the teams are kind of waiting on a few candidates out of the playoff teams to interview, and then from there the dominoes will start falling.
Mm. Yeah, for sure, for sure. I think you can see it all happening really quick, all at once after this season ends. And obviously, this offseason is going to be different from anything else. So, we
Gotcha.
got one more question here before we close up the podcast from Riley White. A longtime fan. Shout out Riley White. Thank you
Hey,
for all the
Riley
questions.
White, my guy, my guy.
So he asked, do the Bills go aggressive in the offseason for a top tier running back? Because we obviously were talking about how they don't have that. And he says Aaron Jones, question mark. I think for me, the difficulty with that is probably because there's just other teams with more money than the Bills. And this is probably the offseason where you go for a Josh Allen extension. Because
I
you
actually
don't
think the
want to.
Bills have a decent amount of money.
Yeah, they do. But I think the Jets could just go haywire. I think there's a lot of teams that can just pay Aaron Jones more money.
Yeah.
And I don't think when you Zach Moss, this is his rookie year. They drafted Zach Moss. They drafted Devin Singletary, both, I think, top 3 rounds, the third round specifically, to play. And I don't see them giving up on that real quickly. And I still don't think Aaron Jones, I don't think they want to shy away from passing the ball. I think they would like more balance. But I think they're having so much success passing. Why would they change their offense too drastically as of
Yeah,
right now? So
I think
I don't
I think they actually do. Here's a name I'll throw out there. I think they sign Chris Carson, and I think they give him somewhere around a 2 year, $16 million deal, 8 million guaranteed at signing, and basically it's a 1+1. And I think they do that because I think Singletary and Moss have proven to be okay, but neither have really popped, and they need that kind of veteran fallback. So they can go in with just those two guys, but I think they're bringing the guy like Chris Carson, who's a mid tier. He's not going to get as much money as Aaron Jones for obvious reasons, health mainly. So I think they're bringing a guy like Chris Carson. So just keep an eye out for that. I don't think they get aggressive for a top tier, but I think Chris Carson's top tier, but he's not going to be paid top tier.
I think going back to the Seahawks, then you'll probably see. I think Mark Ingram is a name being thrown around. I think he makes the most sense for the Seahawks and for like anywhere else. I think Mark Ingram probably finds. We'll probably re-sign Carlos Hyde and go Mark Ingram and stay cheap on the running back end. But that's obviously a conversation for a later day. We'll talk about the Seahawks running back room later. But I got nothing else to say. Good podcast. What you thinking? Any
Yeah,
closing thoughts?
no, that's all we got. Hey, tune in. We got giveaways coming soon. We'll probably do one more preview recap for the Super Bowl, and that's all
Yeah,
she wrote.
we'll
Hey,
probably come in 1 week.
hey, I
These
know
next.
I know we don't have a ton of viewers right now, but keep your eyes peeled. The vlog is coming soon. The blog, the website, the merch, it's all coming soon. So just be early before you're late, and I promise you it'll pay off. All right, anything else, little dog?
Nah, I think we're good.